I mean, I wouldn't want to climb Alp d'Huez on this, but it does make pedaling a lot easier. Gladys is a 40-foot narrowboat. They make them smaller and they make them bigger, up to about 70 feet and down to about 20 feet. So it's somewhere in the middle. Bumblebee Yellow. Absolutely love the colour. It's still very, very gorgeous. And if that tantalising glimpse of the Hack Green secret nuclear bunker has got you interested, keep watching the channel, because in a couple of weeks you'll be able to see a video of my visit inside the bunker. Good morning, ladies. I think you'll agree the weather is a bit better than yesterday. Have you ever seen a spectacle like me before? I wonder. So I guess the question people are interested in is how's the bike done? How's it handled? Any problems? Well, it's just a little bit over 2 years since I bought it, and I would estimate I've done something like 400 to 500 miles, which is not very much at all in the scheme of things in 2 years compared to what a lot of cyclists do. Certainly not compared to what I used to do when I was a keen racing cyclist many years ago. But you know, I bought it for a function, and that function was to take on the bike, take on the boat, so that I'd have some alternative transport available to the boat, because the boat is rather slow at 2 miles an hour, and the bike is much more flexible, so I can pretty much go where I want with it. So what do I think after 2 years? Well, the nothing is broken. I'm touching my head when I say that, touch wood. Everything still works, I would say, perfectly. The brakes have hardly worn, the tyres have hardly worn, the wheels are running true. Yeah, I haven't noticed any mechanical problems. I think I've had one puncture in the 2 years, and I never discovered what caused the puncture. There was no obvious thorn or bit of metal. So the tyre's pretty good, pretty bulletproof really. What changes have I made? Well, I bought a longer seat post, a Brompton longer seat post. So I found the standard one, I couldn't really extend my legs sufficiently. I've not made many changes. I suppose the biggest change and the most complicated one was that I swapped the 50 tough standard chainring for a 38, that's this one. So the standard bike comes with a 50 tough one, so it's bigger diameter, which means it's a bigger gear, which means it's harder to pedal. So hills and things present more of a problem. So I looked on YouTube, of course, and found a video, or a few videos, showing how to change the chainring. I think Brilliant Bikes video was the best. So I ordered this chainring from them actually, and fitted it, and I made a video of that too. Made a big difference. Much easier to go up hills now. I mean, I wouldn't want to climb Alpe d'Huez on this, but it does make pedaling a lot easier. Yeah, so that's, I definitely recommend switching to a 38 tough chainring, or at least something smaller than the 50 tough. The other significant change I made was to fit these Ergon handlebar grips, replacing the standard Brompton straight grips, and these are much more comfortable for riding, much more comfortable. I think that's all the modifications I've made. I did ponder for quite a while about changing the saddle and maybe investing in a nice Brooks saddle, but then, you know, I used to do long distance cycling and cycle races, and I think it really mattered then to have the saddle that you feel best with. But I only really use the Brompton for shorter trips, and this standard Brompton saddle is actually quite comfortable, I have to say. So I'm glad I didn't spend 100 quid or whatever on a new saddle, because this one has proven absolutely great. There are some other things I could do. I could invest in some lighter pedals and removable pedals, as some people do. But you know, I don't really think, for the use I get from the bike, I don't really think it's justified. So I've got no plans to spend any money on it, except when I go back home next month for the winter. So Gladys will be in a marina then, safely tucked up, and I will go back home. I'll take the bike with me, and whilst I'm back home, I think I'll be fitting a new chain, because there are one or two little bits of rust showing on this. Even though I've coated it with all sorts of things, there's still some rust. So yeah, I think I'll do that. That's a pretty straightforward job. And again, I will buy the chain from Brilliant Bikes, make sure I get the right one. But that's about it, really. It needs a bit of a clean. It's very dusty. Perhaps you can't even make it out, but it is very dusty. The problem with being on a boat is that it's not very easy to do maintenance on a bike. Yeah, you need a nice flat, fairly large surface area where you can lay things out and maybe tip the bike upside down, and you can't really do that on a narrowboat. If I had a bigger boat, I suppose I could carry my bike stand on the boat, but there just wouldn't be room for the bike stand. It's quite a cumbersome piece of kit. Yeah, so I'll do that. I'll definitely, feels quite dry actually. Maybe I should, can't actually see the rust there perhaps. Maybe I'll blast it with some WD-40 when I get back to the boat. That's a temporary measure. I enjoyed that ride. Brompton worked flawlessly, and I went a little way along the road towards Ordlam, which is at the end of this lane. But in fact, the road surface on this lane is much better than the road going into Ordlam. There you are. That's today's roads for you. They're not friendly to cyclists, that's for sure. Anyway, I enjoyed my ride, and but of course before I have my ride I have to get the bike off the boat, off the narrowboat, Gladys, and that's not straightforward. So what I thought I'd do is to film a little piece inside the boat so you can see exactly how I do get the bike off the boat so I can go for a ride. So we'll have a look at that now, I think. Well, hello and welcome inside Gladys the narrowboat. Gladys is a 40-foot narrowboat. They make them smaller and they make them bigger, up to about 70 feet and down to about 20 feet. So it's somewhere in the middle. Not a lot of room. I've got this narrow corridor here. I'm sat on my bed, which is always out. So in some narrowboats you kind of fold out the bed, but this one has a permanent bed. So this corridor's fixed. I can't do anything about that. I found that this is the best place to keep the bike, just here in the corner, and it has to share its space with my trolley. So normally my trolley is in there, like that. And I use the trolley when I'm going to fetch things to bring on the boat. My track pump, and usually this water butt is full of water. So in order to use the Brompton, excuse me, I have to carry it out from here, through the front doors, onto the front deck, that's called the well deck, and then I have to lift it up over the side of the boat and out onto the towpath, where I can then unfold the bike and use it. It's very difficult taking the bike out the back way because between the kitchen cabinets is quite a gap like that, but I could very easily knock one of the cabinets with the bike as I'm carrying it. And you can imagine that steel against wood doesn't really go very well. So this is the best way to take it out and bring it back on. But it is quite a palaver, and not something I look forward to. And because of that, I guess maybe it's dented my enthusiasm for using the bike very much. But I have used it. I've gone shopping with it, and I bought myself a proper Brompton bag. I think this is called the Borough model. So, you know, it opens up quite good, and it actually clips on to the front of the bike using this. I've used it a few times, but in all honesty, I tend to moor up quite close to villages and towns anyway, and so actually it's just as easy to walk to the shops than to go through all the palaver of getting changed into cycling kit, getting the bike out, and then cycling to the shop, and then worrying about the bike when I'm inside the shop. So I've got a lock, obviously, but still worry about it. But I have used it several times to go shopping, and that's good. But I also use it just for if I just want to go for a ride. Yeah, so getting the bike in and out is interesting, slightly challenging. Might be easier on some boats, depending on the shape and the access to the doors. And of course, some people would keep their bike outside, either on the stern deck or the front deck, cover it over with something and chain it up securely. But I've never been one for leaving a bike outdoors. I just couldn't do it. It would be anathema to me, and I certainly couldn't keep a bike on the roof, which I often see. I value the bike way too much to do that. So it's got to live inside, and this is where it lives. And I'm going to show you how I get it out from here so that I can go for a ride. Right, so here we go. How do I get the Brompton out? Well, my first task is to remove anything which is in the way. So there's an empty water butt here. Normally I'd keep spare water in that, but obviously I've been using that. Move my trolley. So I'm just gonna put that in front of you there. And there's the track pump. I'll be using the track pump once I've got the bike outside. And there is the Brompton then. So I'll have to stand up now. So we come to the front doors. Another complication is that I also keep coal out on the front deck, which I've started lighting a fire again now, and so it does limit the amount of space I've got. And also I sometimes keep my wheelbarrow fenders, so I'm going to have to just move them a moment and make some space. I'll be right back. Right, so I've made a space now. You can see my difficulties here, can't you? I've made a space, so I'm going to lift the bike up. By the way, the Bromptons are not the lightest things, although you can buy a titanium version, and I'm not sure about a carbon. What I've got is a standard Brompton Sea Line 6-speed, and it weighs a little over 11 kilograms. So they're not the lightest thing. It's quite difficult when you're trying to move it through a tight space. Like this. Right, so there's the Brompton on the front deck. What I now need to do, because I've got a bag of coal around the corner, I need to go up through the back of the boat, walk along and lift the bike off from the towpath side. So I'm going to do that now. Okay, so here we go. I'm now going to lift the boat out. I have to negotiate a bag of coal, sack of coal, which is just in front of that door. That's why I can't open that door fully. So, as you can see, the trick is to lift it off without smashing it into anything. Which is not very easy sometimes. Next task then, of course, is to assemble the bike. By which I mean unfold it. So I'm going to take it to the back of the boat. Put it down there a minute. So the towpath here is virtually just grass and like a sheep track really, which isn't great, but it's okay for now. So the next task is to unfold the bike, and then I think I need to check the tyre pressures. So I don't know if you've seen a Brompton being unfolded before. I must admit I found it quite bewildering at first, but actually it's very simple and it can be done very quickly. First thing is to swing that out. Tighten up. I usually bring the saddle up then. That, swing that around, tighten this clamp up, and the bike will actually stand quite safely like that if you wish. It's not going to fall over. But the final step, if you want to use the bike, is to swing it back like that and release the left hand pedal, and then I'll adjust the saddle height when I'm ready. Just checking the brakes appear to be centered okay, and this is the clip that the bag would be clipped onto when I want to use the shopping bag. And there we are. So the next thing is to just check the tyre pressures. I usually put about 90 in them. Yeah, they both feel a little bit soft, so I think I need to get my track pump and whack some air in it. Yeah, the back one is similarly down. So I don't think I've used the bike for maybe 2 months, if I'm honest about it. So it's quite normal for them to lose some pressure. If one of them had been down and the other one hadn't, then I would have been more worried. But they both seem to have lost the same amount of pressure. That's fine. There we go. Put the cap back on, not over tight. There we go. So the next step is for me to get changed, and then we can go for a ride and see how she goes. So there we are, a little more than 2 years, and I'm still very, very, very pleased with my Brompton Sea Line. I still love the colour, absolutely. Bumblebee Yellow, absolutely love the colour. It's still very, very gorgeous, and I love it. So 2-year review, I'd still give it 10 out of 10. I would thoroughly recommend buying a Brompton. I think they're pretty bulletproof, and I wouldn't be surprised if that bike outlives me. I'm not saying that jokingly. I really wouldn't be surprised. It'll outlive me, I think. Definitely recommend them. Yes, they're a bit pricey. You can certainly buy cheaper folding bikes. And some of the upper market Bromptons are extremely expensive. The right price of this one was $1,400 when I bought it, but I managed to get it for $1,100 in a closing down sale, as it turned out. But I think it'll last, as I've said, and so if you can afford one, or if you can buy a good second-hand one, I'd say go for it. If you're using it on a boat, do have a little think about where you'll keep it and how you'll get it on and off the boat, because I do find that a bit of an issue, and I guess from time to time it does put me off from using the bike. But that would be true of any bike I had on the boat, I suppose, that folded up. So there you are. 2-year review, Brompton Sea Line 6-speed Explore model. I'd still give it 10 out of 10, and it's a big thumbs up for me. And I hope it'll be a big thumbs up from you for this video. And leave some comments. If you've got a Brompton, what do you think of yours? And if you haven't subscribed, then please do, because it helps me to grow the channel, and helps me to know that people like what I'm making. So I'll catch you again soon. Bye.